Hi, I'm Tim Carter, W3ATB, Whiskey 3 Alpha Tango Bravo. In this presentation, you're going to discover what it's like to be part of probably the most exciting and thrilling public service event in North America, the New England Forest Rally. I am the Chief of Communications for the rally. I've been that for about 3 years. And it is absolutely a fantastic event. Here's what I'd like you to imagine. Imagine you are part of a radio team, maybe 8 or 10 operators, and you have been asked to help out in a natural disaster. A town has been cut off, and they need you to go set up communications to provide minute-by-minute information back to the command center. You have to take everything you need to survive for a day or two. You have to drive across really rough roads. There's no cell phone coverage. There is no services. There's nothing. No gasoline. No food. No water. You have to be prepared for any weather. And here's the most important thing. You must be able to communicate at all times with all members of your team. Very important. So my question is, if you had to practice for something like this, how could you do it? What's the best way to gain all of those skills to be that self-sufficient and to be able to provide life-saving information? Oh, wait a minute. It gets worse. You also have to practice setting up and taking down, because here's what happens. All of a sudden, once you're at a position for maybe 2 or 3 hours, you get a call on the radio and the command center says, we need you to relocate. You have to drive 30 miles and go to this other town that now needs help. So you have to break down, you have to drive as rapidly as possible, of course safely and legally, to the other town and set up and do it all over again. So how are you going to practice to do this? Pretty simple. You're going to become part of my team of operators at the New England Forest Rally. You may want to know, where is the rally located? It happens in western Maine and northeastern New Hampshire every summer. It's in some really deep wooded areas. The beauty is unparalleled. It's a 2-day event. And it happens normally in the last week of July. It can be blistering hot, or it could be rainy both days. You just never know. There are 13 individual races. It's a very unique event. It's put on and sponsored by the American Rally Association, and you have world-class drivers who are competing in street legal cars. They basically race across these gravel logging roads. But each of the races is maybe 5, 10, 15, 30 miles from where the previous race was. So after the racers compete, they have to drive at normal speed limits on normal roads in their cars that have regular license plates to get to the next rally point. So it's a very interesting situation where you've got these street legal cars, but some of them are 600, 700 horsepower, and they're driven by top people like David Higgins, Travis Pastrana, really, really talented people. So how many operators are at this event? Well, we have typically 30, 40, maybe even 50 radio operators at the rally, and we need every single one of them. And it's based out of Sunday River Ski Resort, which is in Newray, Maine. And it's basically just kind of across the border from New Hampshire on US 2. I know what you're wondering, why are hams needed? Well, let me show you exactly why they're needed. Because bad things happen, and they happen really quickly. That was Ken Block's car a couple of years ago. He was involved in that horrible rollover crash. Luckily, he and his co-driver, they did not get hurt, but the car was a total loss. And if you noticed, it started on fire immediately. And luckily, they were able to get out, and very luckily, we happened to have a radio operator that was within about 200 feet of where the crash was. So we were able to get help in a hurry. But you need to understand that these cars are going at very high rates of speed, and accidents are common. They happen, and it's just part of rally driving, as basically any car race that you might witness or be a fan of. So the primary reason that hams are needed is because we provide that overall safety net for both the race teams and the spectators that come to view the races. And it's really important. We have a really, really important job. And here's what you need to understand is that some of these courses are 15, maybe 20 miles long, and race cars are released from the starting line every minute. And so you might have 6, 7, or 8 cars on the course at any one time. So if something goes wrong and the road gets blocked, we need to be able to get the word out to all the other operators so that they can warn the drivers that there's a problem up ahead. You can see that you need to be on your toes. You need to keep really accurate logs because you need to know what car number passed you and when they passed you. Why is that important? There's a large gap sometimes between radio operators, and it's completely possible that a car crashes, goes off the road, and no one even knows where it is. That's happened before. And the only way we can find where those two drivers are, the driver and his co-driver, is we reconstruct and we see who was the last person to see that car go by their position. So you can see you're not just there as a spectator, you're working, and your skills are very much in need, and they have to be honed sharp as a razor. Also, there are medical emergencies that happen, both with the race teams as well as spectators. You can have someone that has a heart attack, one of the spectators. We need to be able to get help to wherever it's needed as rapidly as possible. And we do that using our radios, just as you have done in other public service events. The primary radio frequencies that we use are 2-meter VHF. Works really well on a lot of the stages, and it works best if the finish and start line have got J-pole antennas up in a tree. It's really easy to put one of those up. Just get that antenna up in the air, and 50 watts of power is plenty so that all the other operators out on the race course can hear you and you can hear them. But it's really, really important that both the start and the finish line have clear communications. We also use UHF, 70 centimeters. I highly recommend that to certain operators who have a nice mobile radio in their vehicle that can crossband repeat. Because believe me, it is extremely helpful if you can have a small HT and you can be away from your vehicle and communicate via crossband repeating, from your 70 centimeter HT to your 2-meter mobile radio that booms your signal out at 50 watts. So we do use 70 centimeter, but it's basically for personal use. And we do have one stage, very, very tough conditions. There's basically a mountain that we race around. And in that particular stage, we use 80-meter Nevis, and we have an elite team of high-frequency operators who are equipped with both 2 meters as well as HF 80 meters, and they are the ones that provide the communication for that particular team. And if you happen to have that expertise, I would love for you to become part of our team as well. What's really important to know is you don't need to have extreme equipment to work the New England Forest Rally. You can just have a car, you can just have a pickup truck, you can have a simple 2-meter mobile radio or a nice HT, and a portable J-pole. You're going to be fine. That's most people do that, and it's okay. You don't need to have a huge, giant radio truck that's got, that's military spec that's going to go through 5-foot deep mud. You don't need that. So just your regular car, your regular pickup truck, going to be just fine. We typically have 4 teams of operators with 8 to 10 operators per team. And what's important is that some of these teams leapfrog. As I said at the beginning, what happens is understand that we have these races. There's 13 races overall. You have maybe 4 the first day, and then you'll have 9 or so the second day. And you may be assigned to a race course early in the morning, and the race there only lasts an hour, so then you have to tear down and transit and go to the next race course that could be 5, 10, 15, 20 miles away and set up for maybe a 1 p.m. race. And then you may have to tear down again and set up for the last race of the day. So that's what I was talking about, how you need to be nimble, you need to be able to have all your stuff with you, you don't have time to go to a restaurant, you're going to be moving through the day. But once you're at a race or at a stage, you're pretty much in one position and you're not moving around. You'll always be in a safe position, by the way. You don't have to worry about getting run over. You just have to use some common sense as you would in any situation like this. Tech privileges. If you're just a technician, guess what? You can work just about every single stage. Because we are only using 2 meters, and your tech privileges cover you. You just need to have general privileges if you're going to want to be part of the special Nevis team that works what we call our South Arm and Icicle Brook stages. Here's what happens. At each race, we have a start operator, we have a finish operator, and we have intermediary operators. The drivers know where the radio operators are, and the radio operators have signs out. So what can typically happen in a situation, let's imagine a car gets into a wreck. Well, what happens is if that car that wrecked puts out a signal to the other drivers that they need help, then the next driver goes and finds the closest radio operator, stops, gives them all the information, that operator gets on the air, and we start to evaluate how we're going to deal with that situation. So it's very well thought out, and everybody knows where everybody is. So it's really, really important. Each race team has got what's called a stage captain, and you can think of him as like the platoon leader or the lieutenant. He's in charge. He may or may not be a radio operator, but most of the stage captains are, and they have licenses, so they can get on the radio. But even if they're not, you're the control operator. They can use your radio while you're standing right there in charge of the controls. Simple as that. But trust me, most of the stage captains, they've already got their ham radio license. The biggest thing that you have to remember is that you have to take everything with you that you need to survive. And that not only means you, but that also means all of your equipment. You need to have everything. You know, everybody's depending upon you. You can't have an antenna break. If you do, you better have a second one. You know, you might need some backup tools, plenty of batteries, whatever it takes. Just imagine working a world-class public service event. You're not there playing patty cake. It's serious business, and you're a professional, and you're expected to be able to, you know, to basically produce results as any professional would. The radio equipment that's required, well, it could be just something as simple as a really inexpensive HT. That will just barely get you by. What is much more preferred would be for you to have a mobile radio, VHF, UHF, that can pump out 50 watts. And your rooftop antenna or a J-pole that you put up in a tree or some other temporary antenna for 2 meters that you get up a little high, that will do really, really well. The preferred equipment, absolute best, would be for you to have both a mobile HF radio as well as a mobile VHF and UHF radio that has crossband repeat capability. The crossband repeat can really, really be a lifesaver because it allows you to get away from your vehicle. It allows you to walk down the road, or, you know, in case there's an accident nearby and you're not just sitting in your vehicle having people relay information to you. If there's a problem, it's best if you can somehow be where the problem is and using your own eyes to be able to tell the stage captain what's going on. So that's why crossband repeat is really, really invaluable at the New England Forest Rally. The antennas that we use, if you just have a regular quarter wave, antenna on your HT with a tiger tail, that'll probably get you by in most situations. It's much, much better to have a high gain antenna on the roof of your vehicle if you have that. And of course the premium would be to have a 450 ohm, ladder line J-pole that you can put up 10, 15, 20 feet in the air by just simply throwing a water bottle, over a branch and just taking a simple lanyard like a flagpole and get that antenna up in the air. Because as you well know, you're an expert, VHF, it helps to have altitude. That's why we put repeaters on mountaintops. So at the New England Forest Rally, if you can get that antenna up off the ground 15, 20, 30 feet, you'll never regret it. Here's what we don't want. We don't want any rubber duck antennas at the rally. They're basically useless. So I've got a question for you. Do you want to improve your skills in public service? Do you want to be out in nature, some absolutely beautiful scenery? Do you want to be surrounded by a bunch of other really good radio operators? Maybe learn something or two? And do you want a cool patch? Yeah, a cool patch. Well, guess what? I'd like you to become part of the team at the New England Forest Rally. It's really simple. Just email me at tim@w3atb.com. tim@w3atb.com. I hope you discovered something new, and if you ever have a chance to work a rally near you, believe me, you'll not regret it. It's a lot of fun. Thanks so much for your attention.